In this part we are going to study simple curves in isometric. Look, whatever curve that you want to use, you need to be able to find the base with spot finding. Doing spot finding for curved volumes, it's better to use basic volumes or cubes. First thing that I'm going to do for designing this type of curve, I'm going to use a basic cube. Now we will do this step by step, and in advanced level we'll spend much more time on curves. Look closely in parallel perspectives. When we are drawing hidden lines, basically we are getting the framework of our cube. When I consider one part as a curve and move it, for example here, a dot in middle, connect middle to middle. From this axis I'll go 30 degree inside, and from this axis I'll go 30 degree outside. I'll do the same on the bottom. So I get my surfaces 30 degree inside, and we have the bottom 30 degree outside. And now what we're going to do is to connect the dots that we found, and it happens like this. And as you can see, we have this curved surface inside our volume. So for example, if I got another movement here, again I can do the same thing at the same time. Now let's do this again, but without any help and guiding dots, but in the same principle. So I'm drawing our cube here. But there's a point here that whatever you draw, and practically with drawing its parallel lines, you are making this happen. Look, when you repeat the same curved line at the bottom parallel to it, you are getting your curved surface. Now, when I'm inside my shape and I know this principle, look, drawing a curved line and one parallel to it, and coming down with z-axis, here the same, parallel to the moving surface at the top, here the same. And just so easily we have our cut. Now if I want to add more to it, we will repeat the process again. And we have another curved cut here. Parallel to this one, we repeat the same process. So I cut this really easy. And if I change the direction, the same thing will happen in different directions. So for example, if I'm going to in vertical part of this shape, which means the top part, I do the same. We can have the same outcome from it. Like this. So when I did this, I'll start spotting my dots. This is the start point, and this is the ending part, and this is the middle, like this. Now I'm going to find the top part here and do the same dot spotting here, find the bottom, and repeat the process. And connect these. So in order to show these stuff, and let's hatch the deeper parts. And remember, when you're hatching deeper parts, they are more dense, and as much as you come outwards, they will become less dense. So as much as I come outwards, the distance will increase. And here in this vortex, we have more space between the lines. This can continue to the end. Inside this part, also the same. Hatches inside the deep part more dense and close to each other, and as much as you go outward, the distance will increase. Here the same. We should do the same thing in coloring. In deep parts darker, and as much as you come outwards, it becomes lighter. And if I want to color here, I'll put another sheet of paper below it so the color won't pass down. we're going to use a very simple color like W03, darker in our depth. Even when our marker tracing is still wet, I can use W01 and do the top part lighter. This will blend colors in each other and make a gradient to happen. This is one way. I'll do the top part also, and you can use the same technique even when you hashed. What I'm gonna do, make deep parts darker, and as much as we're moving forward, we make the outer part lighter. Again, light, and next to the darker part, and let them blend in each other. Here also the same, inside the cut, make it darker. But this time I won't use a light color here. Like this. As you can see, we presented this super easily with two simple colors. Two tandem set. For example, if you want to use a marker, like touch, Q color, and other markers, Chinese marker like touch or Koilo markers, or even other brand, it doesn't matter what you use, like Pro Marker or whatever, you need to have colors in tandem. For example, Gray Serious or WG Serious or Warm Gray. All type of gray, BG, Blue Gray, you can have them in tandem, like 103 or 123, or you can have them up to 9, so they're moving from dark to light. And as much as we go forward, bit by bit I can explain more about markers. Let's design another curved shape together and see what will happen this time. So we'll draw the next curved shape. I will determine a base shape for it with hiding lines. But this time, draw the lines only, and look how easy movement is happening. All different kind of lines. Look closely. We've drawn the top lines, and let's transfer them to bottom so we have our surface. And we'll move them all to the bottom surface. Now that we spotted our dots, remember, after that, and you finish transferring them to bottom, and you have your lines, you need to do the parallels now, which means parallel to the top line. Parallel to this one will be this one, and parallel to this one, like this. So I'm starting to find parallels. And when I'm doing that, our volume is starting to shape. And we have a very interesting isometric perspective that I can use for interior design or industrial design. In order to have a different experience in creating shapes, it's not bad for you to start drawing industrial object. What I mean by that, I mean stuff like furniture or study lamp or whatever you can find in your house that will help you to have a better outcome. Again, I'm doing the same shading. Inside darker and under the surface lighter. Start designing industrial objects. It will help you to become familiar with more complicated volumes. In our advanced course, we'll get to know curved shapes and stuff like that, and we will start doing more complicated stuff for that. Again, I'm using my shading with WG 1 and 3 for our shading and blend them together. darker in deeper areas. Look, instead of using number 3, I'm using color number 1. So I have to make deeper areas darker. And when you are using marker 2 times in the same spot, it will become darker. And even if you want to make it darker, you can use a marker with a higher number. For example, if you use W number 1 or 3, you can use number 4 or 5. But here I have only number 3 and 1 on my table. So let's move to another sample. And with this simple practices, you need to be able to create different shapes and objects. Look closely. This time I will do it in another way, from a different start. For example, this is our starting point and this is our ending point, and the curve is moving like this, and we move upwards like that. But the ending part in this part is a little different. Height of that one is much smaller. I'll connect this vortex to the other one. Here I'll connect the start point to the end, and behind again. The curves that it's giving us is a little different, so our result is a bit different. Let me text my markers here, because when we move them, I think the tops got mixed. You can define them by the color of their tips. Let's start again, starting with number 1. We can color all of it. Use lighter color, and when we completely colored it, you can edit deeper areas with a darker color. So again, we did that really easy. Now let's test what will happen if we added another surface separately and it's only line, what we should do there. So I'm using another clean sheet of paper. Inside our paper, I'm going to do it with a line this time. When I want to do it with a line, it means it's on a surface, but I'm still loyal to my 30-30 degree to a point, and when I want to move out, I'll determine the middle. I'll bring down the middle. I'll draw the top part. Here 30-30 degree. We need to create a surface first, like this. We'll move the middle inwards from here. I'm spotting my dots here, and I need to connect these dots together. So I'm repeating it again. Look. I'm repeating the dots again. Like this, connect them to each other. And just so easily we create a curved surface like this. In order to do highlights, we can even use shader tools. So really easy, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use a pen, preferably a B3 pen. But I don't have it here, unfortunately, so I'm going to use an automatic pencil. And I'll darken the deeper parts. Look. We made the deeper parts darker. But with a very low pressure, because it's an automatic pencil, it will leave trace behind. And if you want to do it really easy, use B6 pencil. And when I did that, I will use shader to add darker areas in the deeper part. This shader and this simple automatic pencil can be a replacement for marker. Most of the times, instead of spending a lot of money for our work, we can just use these simple tools. Like here that I did this with a sample and a shader. I can even do hatching and I don't need really complicated tools. So, what we're going to do, I will do the same curved surface in line with the upper surface, which means I have 30 to 30 degree surface, and I will determine what I'm going to do here. I'll divide this part, determine the middle part, bring up the axis, determine the middle part here also, bring down the axis, and what happens is, like this, it will move. So we can connect them together really easy with dot spotting and achieve a pleasant result. An important aspect of this that we'll need to learn is all of these lines are parallel to each other. When I learned this, I can do my lines very easily, which means you have vertical and horizontal axes in your head and you draw parallel to it. And we don't need to find dots like the upper line. We only need to start a line and move it like this. When I move this line like this, start drawing helping lines, which means from here we move a line down every 2 centimeters. And here it's not going to be 2 centimeters because of the interference, but after that it's going to be 2 centimeters again, and we are going to move them down every 2 centimeters. Look, after a while all of this need to happen in your mind, and when I connect these lines together, we have our curved surface, so I can do this really easy. Again, in another direction, look closely, I will do this. Again, I'm going to repeat the same process, but this time with fewer lines from Vortex, and I have more experience and I know where to place them exactly. If it's still hard for you, be sure to use more lines, which means you can edit how many lines that you want. Parallel to this part will be like this, and parallel to this part will be like this. Again, it's coming down to the very bottom. Here parallel upwards and here parallel downwards. Look carefully, I'm easily drawing a curved surface in one direction or one axis, this way. Now, if in this axis we want to add a simple direction sign, just for the sake of having a different practice, and for this practice to help us to master this topic, look closely. I'll start designing now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move in the same way. Now, as you can see, it's better if I find a continuous of these lines with parallel lines. And I connect these 30-degree angle. And we have the ending and the start point. And if we want more help, we'll add more lines. As I said, let's add a direction sign to the beginning and to the end. In the same direction with this line, I'll draw another line. From the direction of this line, I'll come out, then connect them to each other. And we get a very interesting direction sign here. Here also, in line with these lines, and we move down a bit and connect them to each other. So we got a direction sign with a very soft slope here. And next to this stuff, I can do a little shadow here. I'll do one of them and you should just do the rest and try to use pen and shader or marker and markers in series. You use like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can use them to color it correctly because they need to blend in each other. Make the deeper parts darker. You can darken it as much as you want. Here also. Beneath the surface darker and as much as you move outwards, lighter. And here, because it's the surface beneath it, it's darker. And when I'm doing this, I'm giving dimension to our work. And in general, I'm doing a really good sketch with just a few tools. So now I'm going to repeat the same process in different directions. Now you can do it in all kind of direction. And it doesn't need to be 30-degree angle. As long as it's parallel, it's enough. And if it's not 30-degree or if it's 60-degree, it's just fine, whatever. And if my angles are different, it's completely fine. Even if you want to do it with 0-degree angle, it's also fine. The important part is to be parallel. So don't tie yourself down to angles. Look, here is somewhat the same angle, but we have it a little different. Like this. Now I will do the direction upwards. Just like this. And coming down vertically. In any direction that you want, you can do this practice. Parallel to the top line, parallel to the top line again. And continue the lines and connect them to each other. Here also the same. Continue the lines and connect them to each other. And as you can see, it's really wonderful. And later on, when we are drawing yucca plant, we use the same technique. In the topic of drawing greens and plants, I'm using this same technique practically. And we can draw plants really easy with this. When you are designing an object and using it as your basic volume, and the wind is going to move above our object and enter another area, and we want to show a type of volume, it doesn't necessarily need to be like this. I can move it like this, however you want. You draw the parallels, and then you will have the end result of your diagrams. And you can have your pleasant result. As you can see, we continue it like this. So I did these pointers really easy. And I'll add my volume beneath it. So I created a very simple diagram from these pointers. And later on I can hatch it and determine that it's wind passing through here. So with the same technique in our curves or pointers or other areas, I can have a good design. Again, I will put another sheet of paper beneath my hand, and I'll use the W series again for shading. I'll do the darker parts. Look, because I don't want to use a pale color, I'm doing it very thin. I'll repeat the same process again here. And even if you liked, you can do the tips. Again, here, I'm just darkening the deeper parts with a dark color. And as much as we move outwards, as you can see, it's becoming lighter. Here the same. Like this. We can do this really simple and easy with a simple marker. Here also the same. Inside the deeper parts, I'll make it darker. And coming out like this. Here also the same. And we got the pointers. As you can see, very interesting, cool pointers. And they are really useful. We can use them as curves, or we can use them as pointers in diagram.